You know, as a farm-raised country boy, I grew up with many different animals. And to this day, I still own cats and dogs. And I like both of them. I don't really have a preference. But did you know that you can actually use one of these critters to help you do math for scuba diving? In today's video, we're going to show you how you can use one of these critters to do very crucial math that you're going to need not only as a wreck diver, but more importantly, as a technical diver as well. What's up, guys? This is Bryan again from Lake Hickory Scuba and Marina. If you are new to our channel, do me a huge favor. Hit this little subscribe button over here and ding that little bell as well. That way you guys are going to be notified every time we upload new content. Now, as I stated in the teaser, we're going to be doing some math calculations that all technical divers need to be able to do. But this really comes in handy for recreational divers too, especially, say, solo divers. But I'm going to show you how you can use one of these two critters right here to do some math to make your job a whole lot easier when you're planning dives. So with that being said, let's jump into today's video and learn about how one of these critters can help you do scuba math. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. And if you are a dog person, well, I'm sorry, this video is probably not going to be for you. But if you are a cat person, then it's going to be a great video for you because we're going to be using CAT, C-A-T, as an acronym to calculate minimum gas required for a tech diver. Say if he's going from his deepest depth, whatever it may be, up to his first stop. So we're going to be calculating how much cubic footage he needs plus how much PSI he needs so that he can see it on a pressure gauge as well. Now, we're not just calculating it for him, we're also going to be calculating it for his buddy too. And that's where the acronym CAT is really going to come into play. So let me get this erased up and throw some numbers up here and I'll show you just how easy it is to calculate how much gas is required to, say, go from your deepest depth all the way up to your first stop. Alright guys, so what does the acronym CAT actually stand for and what do we use it for? What kind of math are we going to be calculating? Well, we're going to be calculating minimum gas required to, say, go from your maximum depth up to your first decompression stop. And there's several different variables that we need to understand before we do the math. One is, of course, C, combined sac rate. I need to know what my sac rate is plus what my buddy's sac rate is. And if you saw our previous video, I'll link it up here or put it in the description somewhere for you. We show you how easy it is to calculate your sac rate. Now, let's say that I understand that mine is a 0.4, and let's say that my dive buddy's is a 0.6. Okay? So in this case, between me and my dive buddy, we're breathing 1 cubic feet every single minute. Okay? And now we need to go to average ascent depth. Now, to get this number, you're going to need to know what your max depth is. In this case, let's say it's 200 feet. And we also need to know where our first stop is going to be. Let's say our first stop is at 70 feet. To get an average between these two, all you've got to do is add them together and then divide it out by 2. So it's really simple math. 200 plus 70 is 270. Divided by 2, that's going to be an average ascent depth of 135 feet. But we can't stop there because this is scuba diving. We need to convert 135 feet over to atmospheric pressure, and that's super easy to do. All you do is you take your depth, okay, so 135 feet. We are going to divide that by 33, which is an atmosphere, and then we're going to simply add 1 to it. And that's going to come up to 5.09 atmospheres. All right, and now we can calculate our time to stop. Now we're going to use the same two numbers. Obviously, we were at 200 feet and we were going to 70 feet, but this time instead of adding them together, I'm going to subtract them out. So 200 minus 70 is going to be 130 feet. Now, what that 130 feet is, that's how much travel distance I've got to go from my bottom depth all the way up to my first stop. So I need to figure out how much time that's actually going to take me. Well, we know that our ascent rate should never be faster than 30 feet a minute. So if I've got 130 feet and I divide it by 30 feet a minute, that's going to come up to 4.3 minutes. We're just going to round that to 5 minutes just for easier math. So let's say 5 minutes to make our ascent from 200 feet all the way up to 70 feet. Now we have every bit of information that we need to calculate our minimum gas. To do that, all you got to do is bring up your calculator, try to show you on camera here. All right, so we get our calculator, and we are going to multiply each of these numbers together. So we're going to take this first one, 1. We're going to multiply it by our average ascent depth in atmospheric pressure, so that'd be 5.09, so times 5.09, okay? And then we're going to multiply it by the time to get to that depth. So times 5 minutes, it says we need a total of 25.45 cubic feet of gas. Now, we can round that up if we want to. We can round up to the next one, or you can round up, say, 5 or 6 more cubic feet just to be on the safe side. Let's kind of leave it here just to show you how the math is, but it's 25.45 cubic feet of gas. Now, I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this just so you guys can see better on the screen. But I'm going to show you how to convert that back over to pressure as well. Okay? So we're at 25.45 cubic feet of gas. All right, so we know that if we're going from, say, 200 feet up to 70 feet, and we've got 5 minutes to do it in, and based off my breathing rate or my sac rate and my buddy's breathing rate and sac rate, that we're going to need 25.45 cubic feet of gas. Now, to do the math here, it's very simple to do. What you're going to do is take your overall working pressure. You're going to divide it out by whatever your gas capacity is. So let's say that we're diving doubles. All right, so we got 2 aluminum 80s, and they're pressurized to 3,000 apiece. Well, if I've got 2 80s, that means I've got a total of 160 cubic feet of gas. So I'm just going to simply take 3,000. I am going to divide it by 160, and that comes up to 18.75. And I'm going to multiply that by the cubic footage needed, so the 25.45. So times 25.45, it says I need a total of 477 PSI. Okay? Now, you could obviously round that up to 500 if you wanted to be on the safe side, but what do these numbers tell me? It says basically from a depth of 200 feet going all the way up to a depth of 70 feet, which is where I'm going to make my first switch of deco gas, I'm going to need 25.45 cubic feet of gas, and to see that on a set of gauges, I need 477 PSI for both me and my buddy as a minimum gas to make it safely from 200 feet all the way up to 70 feet. Now, once again, your buddy's going to have his air supply. I'm going to have my air supply. But in the event that one of those air supplies was depleted and it took just one of us sharing air with the other one, bringing us up to that, to where we could switch over to a deco gas, in this case scenario, you would need 25.45 cubic feet of gas or 477 PSI to safely make it up. All right, metric crowd, calm down. I've got you guys covered too. I can already hear it in the comments. You always do it in the Imperial. What about the metric? Well, I'm going to show you how easy it is to do it in the metric as well. All you got to do is simply fill in the blanks the same way we did with the Imperial. We're just going to use metric calculations. So let's say between me and my buddy, we have a sac rate or a combined sac rate of 36 liters a minute. Maybe mine's 16 liters a minute. My buddy's is 20 liters a minute. That's going to be 36 liters a minute. Now, once again, our average ascent depth, that's our deepest depth up to our first stop. Let's say our deepest depth is 60 meters and our first stop is at 21 meters. You simply add them up, divided by 2. That's going to come up to 40.5 meters. Once again, in the metric system, it's a little bit easier to calculate bar that way. You simply move your decimal point 1 space over and add 1 to the front. Or if you want to do the long math, it's whatever your depth is divided by 10 plus 1. That comes up to 5.05 bar. And then, of course, our time to that first stop, we simply take our deepest minus our first stop. That's going to come up to 39 meters. Now remember, we have an ascent rate that we do not exceed, so we're going to take that 39 meters, divide it out by 9 meters per minute, so it's going to be 4.33. Then we simply multiply all 3 of those numbers together, and it's going to come up that we need a total of 787.19 liters of gas to do this. Now we are going to convert that back over to bar, because obviously you've got a pressure gauge that reads in bar, and you need to be able able to see that real-time number. Now, to do this, we need to come over here and we need to think, well, how many liters are we carrying total? Just like in the previous example where we're carrying 2 aluminum 80s, in this case, we're going to be carrying 2 11-liter cylinders manifolded together, and they're going to be pressurized to 204 bars. So that's going to be a total of 4,488 liters of gas. And then the math is pretty much the exact same as it was in the Imperial. You take your total liters or total bar total, which would be 204 bar, divide it by 4488, all right, which is going to come up to 0.045. Multiply that by the liters needed, and it comes up that we need a total of 35.7 bar of minimum gas to make that dive safely from our deepest depth of, say, 60 meters up to our first stop around 21 meters. So there you go, guys. That's how easy it is to use a CAT to do dive calculations for you. Just remember, the CAT simply stands for Combined Sac Rate, Average Ascent Depth in Atmospheric Pressure, and then, of course, time from your bottom all the way up to your first stop. And why do we need to calculate minimum gas? Well, in short, if you and your buddy are at your maximum depth and one of you runs out of gas or had a catastrophic failure, you need to know how much gas it takes to go from that depth to your first stop where you can safely make a switch to a separate gas source, whether it's your deco source or something like that. But guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, drop me a comment down below and we will discuss. But if you found this video helpful, if you think the math is not too daunting now, give me a big thumbs up. If you think it'll help someone else, definitely share this video. But that's going to do it for today's video. Once again, if you liked it, give us a big thumbs up. Until our next one, take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.